Jim Baumstark.
James Dolan.
All right, welcome. I'd like to start with our approvals section. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
So moved, Peggy.
And all those in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next, we have the approval of the February 21st, 2023 regular and executive session minutes. May I have a motion and a second to approve the regular and executive session minutes?
So moved, Michael. Second, Peggy.
Katie, may I have a roll call for this?
Corman.
Aye.
Stefani. Dolan.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Jack Torowitz.
Aye.
Peggy.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye. No feedback tonight. This is great. Yeah. Next, we'll move to our communications. Great job, Ed.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, thank you. We have our superintendent comments. Dr. Deli?
Yes, thank you. So we have some special recognition we'd like to give this evening. And it's all centered on the Those Who Excel Awards. And each year, the Illinois State Board of Education recognizes those who make extraordinary contributions to education across the state. And they do that with the annual Those Who Excel Award program, which has been around for decades. It's been a long time, well-established program. This year, District 34 is fortunate to have 7 Those Who Excel winners that cross 6 categories. So we're absolutely thrilled about that, and we've invited all of those individuals to be with us this evening. A couple can't, but we will recognize them anyway. So I'm going to talk about each person briefly. I'd like you to just come up to the front because we want to be able to see you clearly as I speak. And you want to should we have them come up to the front, Kathy? And okay. So I'm going to start with Aurora Joaquin. Would you just come up? And yeah, have a seat. Yeah. Welcome to your recognition. Aurora is at Glen Grove, and she has won recognition in the area of Student Support Personnel Award of Excellence. Aurora is a speech-language pathologist at Glen Grove who works with students to improve communication skills through individual services, experiential learning, and community trips. She is also known for creating the Glen Grove Community Project, which we've heard about, to increase awareness of the diverse culture and community, that which is Glenview. This passion project contributes to the families feeling a sense of community, pride in their culture and language, and excitement about learning from one another. So we congratulate you on the recognition and thank you for making District 34 so proud. You want to come around, come up?
And there's gifts.
Photo op you too. Can you give, okay, I just wanted a photo.
Oh, we want to do the photos one at a time?
Oh,
Okay, sure. Okay, great.
how's my hair?
Thank you. Thank you, sorry.
Next, we have Nara Banzrich, and she has won an award under the Community Volunteer category. Nara, welcome up front. And in this category for Community Volunteer, Nara has been instrumental in serving, supporting, and connecting District 34's Mongolian families. She is our go-to Mongolian interpreter, translator, making sure families can access important information about their child's experience at school and be included in parent education programming and other events. Nara also is deeply involved in the Mongolian BPAC, which is a vibrant organization that offers a variety of programs and events for families. So we congratulate you and thank you very much. We're going to come around.
Come around.
the time we get to the last person.
We should have an opening here.
We should. Direct run. Okay, and can we next have Nan Yadava come up? And Payal Nanavati, I'm sorry. Both Nan and Payal are, yeah, have a seat. Both Nan and Payal are Westbrook. They're the co-teaching dynamic duo, the team category. So that's one of those 7 categories that I had mentioned. Nan is a second grade teacher, and Payal English language learner teacher who co-teach together at Westbrook School. They demonstrate outstanding collaborative teaching in their classroom, designing learning activities that are engaging and intellectually stimulating. They also design lessons to meet the social emotional needs of students and actively seek out information about students' backgrounds and cultures. And if you have had the chance to see them at work, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I wish everyone could. Their strengths include their ability to build relationships with students, families, and staff, and their willingness to advocate for support and take active leadership roles across the building. Thank you both very much, and congratulations. You're going to save us a couple steps?
Yep.
Thank you.
Let's get my orange coat on.
For an Illinois win.
Thank you. Next, we have Steve Ruelli. Where is Steve?
He's back there
Steve, come
working.
up closer so we can see you better. It'll only be awkward for a moment, Steve. Steve Ruelli, District Administrator category, one of the categories we've been recognized for. As Director of Buildings and Grounds, Steve has overseen the transformation of our buildings that has taken place thanks to the successful 2020 referendum. He manages the almost unimaginable details, and you can see the results at Hanking, Lyon, Westbrook, and Springman. You will continue to see the fruits of his labors continue at our other buildings as our renovation work continues. He has built strong relationships between District 34 and the Village and the Park District. Those relationships have only helped improve our schools for students. It's also improved our relationship and our presence within our entire community. So, Steve, we thank you for all of your hard work, and congratulations on this recognition for you. Vicky, I think I saw Vicky. Vicky, Marku, are you here? Hi, Vicky. Thank you for being here. Vicky is the head custodian at Lions. Oh, I should say that Vicky is being recognized in the educational support personnel area. Vicky is the head custodian at Lions School and is known for her positive and welcoming nature for sure. During COVID, she showed flexibility to support students and staff. Additionally, the building was under construction for a new addition and changes to learning spaces, and Vicky and her team had unprecedented challenges in getting the building open on time. but she was really a cornerstone in that work. Vicki is a beloved and valued member of Glenview District 34, and it is appropriate to recognize the value that she brings, not only to Lion School, but to our entire district. So, Vicki, congratulations to you, and thank you. Also, is Emily, are you here? I didn't see Emily. I think Emily was not able, okay, Emily couldn't make it. Emily Buss Hoffman in the teacher category. Emily is an LBS 1 teacher at Hoffman School who is a champion for all children. Emily is a tireless advocate who considers each child individually. She engages in a deep level of instructional planning so that children experience positive outcomes, both behaviorally and academically. She takes a leadership role in the building and can often be seen coaching other teachers to support student achievement. So even though not here, we congratulate her and thank her for her efforts. So those are our award recipients, and again, we thank you very much, and thanks for everything that you do and for being here tonight. We know you have lives to live, but we appreciate you being here for the recognition. Thank you. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deli. We're coming to our audience comments section. This is the first opportunity for audience comments in this meeting. Anyone wishing to address the board can submit a comment card available at the check-in table and give it to Director of Communications and my scripts from last time, sorry. Kathy Kajijian. Yeah. She'll call community members who submit cards forward. They will be asked to introduce themselves and describe their relationship with the district. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Please know that the board will be taking notes, but we will be in listening mode only, and an appropriate response will be given in a timely manner. We also ask that you submit one comment per opportunity. Kathy, do we have any comments? Thank you. Turn it on.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Ubik. I have been teaching in this wonderful district for 10 years. I am a math teacher at Springman, and I could go on and on about how wonderful it's been to teach in this district and how much I love my career. But I have to get down to business because I know my clock is ticking. So I am here tonight to discuss the staffing allocations at the middle school level. Hopefully you all received our little packet of information. And at the board meeting last month, it was proposed that 5 out of the 6th grade levels operate on a 9-teacher team. The middle school schedule is very complex, and changing teacher allocations based on enrollment numbers alone has much more of an effect than changing class sizes. Moving to a 9-person team comes with a very wide scope of changes. My team changed from a 10 to 9 allocation last year, and we are seeing the negative outcomes of this daily. We feel it is important to communicate to the board and the community members what a 9-person team at the middle school actually looks like. The second page of your handout shows the 6th and 7th grade 9-teacher teams at Springman this year. One impact of a 9-teacher team on student learning is class size. While you may think lower student enrollment, lower class size evens out, it actually does not. You will notice that any class with a plus sign by it means that the class has 28 students or more, and a minus sign means that the class has 20 or less. Less teachers means less options for classes, which then leads to a higher percentage of restricted honors or special education classes and a lower options for students to meet the needs of their schedule. A student in a science class of 18 is getting a different experience than a student in a science class of 30. This could be happening for a student in multiple classes a day. The second impact of a 9-teacher team on student learning is student support. A big part of our middle school model is the teaming structure. This helps students transition from the elementary school model of 1 to 2 teachers to a middle school with 7 to 8 teachers. Any class with an asterisk by it shows a class where students are being taught by an off-teacher team. There are students on our team this year that don't actually see any of their team teachers during the day. This really takes away from the teaming model, and we lose the sense of belonging that the team community creates. The last impact of a teacher team on student learning is teacher assignment. On a 9-person team, it is simply impossible for teachers to teach only one subject. Any class that is bolded is a second subject class. Any teacher that is bolded and italicized, which there are a few on the back, is a third subject class. While all teachers in this district are extremely talented and hardworking, it simply takes time to create a rigorous, deep, meaningful curriculum. It's like asking a 15-year veteran nurse who has always worked on floor 2 to go up to floor 8, and then also work on 2 and 8, and sometimes 10. It doesn't mean she's not a good nurse, but it will take time to learn. We teachers receive 3 days a week to collaborate with our subject area partners. Now that time is cut in half or in thirds for teachers who teach more than one subject. These subjects are almost always our most rigorously tested subjects of math and ELA because of the need for multiple levels at those subjects. This makes a very real possibility that a student may have a teacher who is new to teaching math and new to teaching ELA for 1, 2, or all 3 of their years in the middle school education. This is really an increased probability because of the 7th, 8th grade looped curriculum. The good news is we do have a solution. We would love the board to consider keeping 10 teacher teams standard at the middle school level. My colleague and bestie, Amy Dreyer, would like to talk to you about that tonight as well. Thank you for your time and attention. It has really been my biggest honor teaching the students of this district, and I want to be able to continue to do that with the best teaming structure possible. Before I go, I did start analyzing with standard deviation of class sizes, but I started to bore myself, but I did make a good old-fashioned box and whisker plot if you have time to take a look at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any more comments? All right, thank you, Amy.
Okay, hello. So if you turn the page to the page labeled 10 teacher team breakdown, that's what I'm going to discuss first. So this model shows what a 10 teacher team looks like. And Springman currently only has one 10 teacher grade level team, which is our 8th grade team, which is the team that I currently teach on. Because there are more classes offered with a 10 teacher team, the class sizes are much more balanced. So you'll see there's fewer classes that approach 30, and then there's also just less discrepancy between the class sizes. So that creates more stability for students and staff. Almost all of the problems with the 9-teacher model that Ashley just described are solved with the 10-teacher model. Students are taught by their core team teachers who are all teaching the subject area of their expertise. The class sizes are much more consistent, and the team of teachers have more opportunities to work together to help our students. So the 10-teacher model is very clearly better for students and for teachers. If you'll turn the page, well, the next page you'll see Ashley's beautiful graph, but you can peruse that at your own leisure. We're going to go to the page that says past and projected staffing allocations. So the first chart that you see is the 6th grade staff allocation data, and this goes back to the 2018 school year, and it's projected through the 2031 school year. These numbers are total projections for Springman and Atia. We did some unit rate math to keep the staffing allocations proportional, and that's when it really comes in handy to have a math teacher as your best friend. Over the past 3 years, the 6th grade team has fluctuated between 9 and 10 teachers, and this disrupts every 6th grade team every year. The 6th grade team has been gaining and losing a teacher depending on the year, and the 6th grade team also has multiple teachers teaching a subject outside of their area of expertise, and this instability is detrimental to students and teachers alike. So we use the historic team and teacher data to project teacher team sizes for the next few years, and these team sizes really bounce around from 9 teacher teams to 10 teacher teams every few years. And the incoming loop of 6th graders will have a 10 teacher team throughout their time at Springman, which is wonderful, but the following class will have that 9 teacher model. So this model of kind of bouncing between 9 and 10 teacher teams every other year, it's really difficult for teachers, and we've seen that this year. Moving teams and taking on new subjects is incredibly difficult for teachers, and it really does affect our students. So a team of 10 teachers at each grade level allows us to give our students the best possible education we can, and we would really, really like to do that. We understand that staffing allocations are driven by enrollment projections and budgetary constraints, but having 10 teacher teams as the standard creates a much more balanced middle school education for our students. So if you go to our final page, we do have a question for the board, and we're hoping that you all will consider having a 10-teacher team as the standard for middle schools. Thank you very, very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. And it was amazing, you both did it exactly in 3 minutes.
Did we
So you must have practiced.
You have no idea how much we practiced.
Teachers being prepared.
That's, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other comments? We will have another comment section at the second part of our meeting, so thank you. Let's move along to our consideration of resolutions, our consent agenda. I'm going to read the resolutions, and I'm going to ask for a motion and a second for approval. I have the 23014 personnel report, the 23015 payroll warrants, the 23016 vendor warrants, the 23017 staffing allocations, and the 23018 student photography contract renewal. May I have a motion and a second? And may I ask for a roll call, please?
Aye.
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 Motion's carried. Now we'll move along to consideration of other resolutions. We're going to have discussion and action. We have the 23019 interfund transfer from O&M to capital projects of $12 million. Eric?
So we discussed this briefly last month, but this is just the next transfer to fund capital projects based on the original board contribution from fund balance. So now that there's enough in O&M, I'd like to initiate that transfer so that it's in place for when that's needed in the coming year and a half.
Are there any questions for Eric? May I have a motion and a second to approve?
Second, Baumstark.
Katie, may I have a roll call?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. We will now go to the 23020 resolution to approve bid for fire alarm, intercom system, and water heaters at Atia. Eric? Or Steve?
I'm going to ask Mr. Ruelli to join us briefly.
Award-winning, Mr. Ruella. Steve, could you grab the microphone so the people at home could hear you?
There we go. Okay, so these two items were up for replacement next summer, summer of '24, but because of the deteriorating condition of these, we decided to go out to bid for 2 new hot water tanks at Atia and the new fire alarm and intercom systems here. So we're going to do those this summer.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Ruelli? May I have a motion and a second for approval? Can I have a roll call, Katie? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Ruelli.
That's why we give him awards.
That's right.
That's right.
Number 3 to 23021, Memorandum of Understanding for the Middle School ILS Educational Associate. Kevin.
I think I'm good.
Thank you.
The board may recall earlier this year there was a contract reached with a private staffing firm, specializing in special education. This is the procedural piece with the GPA, just to agree that it's at the most a solution to that problem for 1 year.
Are there any questions? We've already read this before, right? And we're just approving the MOU, correct? May I have a motion and a second?
Second, Baumstark.
All right. Katie, may I have a roll call?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Now, we're going to have a presentation, I think, for the 23022 Middle School Math Resource Adoption. Dr. Silverman?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to bring up my colleague, Jenny Bergeron. If you don't know Jenny, she is absolutely amazing, and I'm just here to facilitate the presentation. Her work was exceptional. It was really the results that you're going to see tonight were her fruits of labor, and I'm super excited to share this time with her. So with that, we're going to jump right in. You seem far away from me, Jenny. But that's all right.
There you go.
This is true. Hello?
Oh, I think it works. That's good. All right.
Okay, so we are indeed going to share with you the process and the results of some really outstanding work. Another group of people that really need some tremendous accolades are the math teachers. A pilot is a huge amount of work. It rocks everybody's world. Pacing, scope and sequence, standard alignment. It was a huge amount of work, and our math teachers really wanted to dig in deep. So this was a long pilot, which was great. This is a huge decision. Our bottom line is finding the right resource and match for our children to ensure that it's the best mathematical experience that they can have. And I'm very confident with all of the work that our math teachers did and Jenny did that we're presenting just a clear, solid choice for us tonight. So with that, as we always start with our strategic plan, and a belief in the statements, the vision, I always like to highlight or zero in to a particular area, and this is indeed about deep learning. And we have just a tremendous math program to begin with, and then when we can bring in a resource that is just going to elevate and make it that much more exciting and engaging and powerful for our children, that's where my head goes into that deep learning underneath student success and well-being goal and comprehensive education. I'm going to pass it over to Jenny here, and hopefully your mic is working, and take it away.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. So I'll give you a little bit of background of how we got to where we are right now. Back in the winter of 2020, yes, the pandemic year, we found out that the resource that we used in Tier 1 that we had adopted years ago, digits, would no longer be in print. And so our rep at the time suggested we just transition to a similar program that they had, which was called Envision. And it was a tough year with the pandemic just at the beginning of that. So it was the communication with just all of our teachers was a little challenging, if you remember back what it was back then. But we did the best we could to learn about Envision and trust our reps' guidance that Envision would be very similar to digits and that we'd have a great experience with it. So without kind of any hesitation, we got in some samples that we took a look at for the rest of that year, but really we just jumped into Envision for the 21-22 school year. And early in the fall of 2021, the teachers started noticing pretty quickly that Envision was actually quite different than digits and did not meet our instructional needs in multiple ways. So at that point, we moved along to that third category up there, winter, spring of 21-22, where we started looking at some other resources to adopt for Tier 1 that would meet our needs better. So we knew that there may not be one single resource that's going to satisfy every single need we were looking for to have met, but some of the important components to us are outlined on the screen here. And so we were looking for a program that had appropriate rigor for all levels of learners, suggestions for differentiation, support and translations for our EL and bilingual students, and of course resources to align or support our tiered instruction model.
So in the spring of 2022, I had ordered some samples for Desmos, Carnegie, and Big Ideas to take a look at. Those were resources that the teachers had brought forward. Other resources were also suggested, but upon just kind of taking a look at what I found on their websites, I could narrow our list down to a fewer because I could kind of rule out other resources that didn't meet some of our needs. So the three that I pulled in samples of were Desmos, Carnegie, and Big Ideas. And after reviewing the samples and sharing them with the teachers, together we decided that the two that we wanted to pilot this year alongside our currently adopted Tier 1, which was Envision still at the time, was Carnegie Learning and Big Ideas. So we lived that out this school year. These two resources along with Envision, so 3 resources going on in our Tier 1. And throughout this 22-23 school year, those 3 Tier 1 math resources were utilized in our 6-8 math classrooms. But I do want to step in and say the classrooms that are single and double accelerated in 7th and 8th grade that are algebra content or geometry, so the high school content classes were unaffected by this because they didn't use digits to begin with. They used a different resource also by Savis, but they weren't affected by the digits going out of print, so they were not part of what we were piloting here. So they remained unaffected. What you see on the screen here is kind of what we lived through this year. The teachers had support throughout the school year. They had training at the start of the year. We had support meetings with me joining them and with them collaborating together. We also held pilot meetings 3 times a year where all of the math teachers would come together. And when I say math teachers, it's the full subject math teachers. We still collected feedback from those that were maybe a different subject but teaching math class, but we kind of only had our core group of full-time math teachers that were part of our evaluation process for the overall decision in the end. So we pulled everybody together a couple times a year. We collected survey feedback from students and parents and our teachers throughout the year. And teachers had a chance to view this feedback and get informed by what the results were telling them. And at our final meeting, at our first 2 meetings, we also did a great amount of sharing where the teachers of each different pilot resource could share with the ones not using that resource what it was to kind of experience the resource through the student's eyes, through the teacher's eyes, collaborating together, sharing the strengths and the challenges that they encountered, and the data that they were able to collect and how they kind of perceived each program. And there was a lot of questions and answering that was going on, and the teachers are a great group of people to work with, and they were really open with each other about what they were experiencing this year. So at our final meeting, we wanted to have kind of a fair way to evaluate each of the resources, including Envision as the one that we currently have adopted. That was still part of our rating or our evaluation. And so what we did was we didn't rank the different resources, but rather each teacher had a chance to rate or evaluate each of the resources independently. And the areas that we focused on were lesson content, differentiation, teacher planning, student experience, assessments, data, digital experience, and then some other considerations that we kind of lumped in there that were also important but didn't have their own category to fit into. And I'll hand it back to Matt now to talk about our data.
So we did our best to really balance qualitative measures and quantitative information. And really what this boils down to is perception. Our teachers are the best. They have the best perception, again, of a resource that's going to provide the best mathematical experience for our children. So this sort of created 2 versions of heat maps, or the capacity to kind of tease out, if you will, what we're striving for is a resource that's going to exceed our expectations in these different categories. And so this is, I think, a nice way to visualize. And again, there are parts of particular programs that were better than others. This is multidimensional. and it allows for you to see and for us to see sort of the nuances and the differences. Every program had a pro and a con, a good and a bad, and all of this was processed. There was a tremendous amount of dialogue and really rich sharing of information and some debate and really what we're looking for in terms of a teacher lens and then the student experience. So, you know, you could already see sort of a theme coming out from big ideas, and again, this was this natural process that we wanted to follow. And then in this particular screen, I know it's very, well, it's gigantic on that screen, but it's really teeny.
It's tiny.
That's a cool way to see it, but you know, we're striving for green. That's the best way to see it. And again, we always want to, even on IR, exceed. So we want to exceed here when we're selecting a math resource. And you could see, again, Big Ideas was really just kind of a top contender. And when you consider, again, those partial meets and Envision, and then sort of even with Carnegie, you're seeing no to minimal meeting of the expectation and the standards that we have, again, as professional math educators, teacher perception, the expectations they have, current math programming, all of that content kind of plays out in these heat maps here for you to be, for us really to come to a conclusion.
Okay. Matt, is each row on here a person?
Yes.
Or-
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So everybody ranked everything. Did they all pilot everything?
No, they didn't, but through the sharing, they were able to experience the best that they could each program, and we focused on these different categories throughout our 3 pilot check-in meetings that we had. And because there were different numbers of teachers in each pilot, this was kind of we've toyed around with different ways that we could have this final vote happen. And this one emerged to be the most fair because it was every teacher ranking every program or evaluating every program.
And really, we did not want to go with a concrete yes/no vote for those reasons. And again, to sustain the sophistication that was taking place during the pilot process, leading up to a decision, which is difficult. Thankfully, it kind of played out this way, but it's organic. Who knew how it was going to play out?
Can I ask one other clarifying question? So I'm assuming because of when we implemented Envision, all 16 had at least a baseline of Envision experience, and so you think about it as like an overlap. You either had Envision and Carnegie or Envision and Big Ideas firsthand experience?
Yes, and yes, all the teachers that voted did. And as I kind of said a little bit earlier, and as Ashley and Amy explained, there's some teachers that maybe are mostly, you know, a science teacher, but they have one class of math. We did not include votes for them. They shared feedback throughout the process, but the ones that we collected this data from are the ones who had experience instructing with Envision as a primary resource, and then also either 2 years of Envision or Envision, and then also one of the pilot programs.
Okay, thanks.
And also,
Sorry.
I think there's an inconsistency. It doesn't matter because Big Ideas is like the top one, but the way it's labeled, like in this graph, this one here, clearly Carnegie's the one with all the reds.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back a page, it looks like Envision is the one that's called the one with all the reds. Like it looks like somewhere at Carnegie and Envision were swapped. So I don't know, just which one is the really bad one?
I have to look at my raw data to see if that happened, or where that would have happened. I see what you're saying,
Yeah,
though.
because like, if you look at this Carnegie one, there's 5 red ones, and if you go back one, the 5 red ones are on Envision.
Aha. Thank you for that. Well, if I had to say which one was the really bad one, what would you say, Ashley? I would say Envision too.
The
Yeah,
reason
that was
we,
the reason
the
that
reason we started this,
The
correct?
reason we started this, because the teachers were very unsatisfied with
Okay,
Envision.
that's fine. Like I said, it's a battle for second and third, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, but.
And you know, each program does, I don't mean to talk down about any of them, as Matt said, they each do have good components, but just the best fit for us was not Envision.
It is nice to see that it's, I mean, plain and evident to us by the amount of green that it's easier to make that decision. I'm glad it isn't mixed all around.
Yeah, me too. Made it easier to.
Jim
have
can
this-
figure that out, but not all of us can.
The rest of us would be very confused.
Mike?
Sorry. So question probably for you, Matt, around the connection with District 225, since the overwhelming majority of our students in the nearby districts go to 225. Was any consideration given and conversations had with our partners in District 225 to, I've always felt that we needed a more collaborative connection between the two people in your seat in particular at both institutions, GBS and D34. Has any of that taken place? And if not, I think it would be valuable for it to take place so that that transition between Atia and Springman to Glenbrook South is more seamless. My experience in talking to enough parents and in my own life is that it was not seamless, and that transition could be improved. And my sense is that the districts that feed into Glenbrook North have a more normalized transition process from 8th into 9th grade. So just a generalized comment. Thank you.
From a resource standpoint, it's anecdotal, and we'll mention it, but certainly the township factor is something we reviewed, and it's all of the township, right? Everyone is actually using big ideas. You know, again, it's just feedback oriented, but the GBS math department crew in general, I think, was yearning for this night, along with us, to kind of see that alignment. Now, the transition piece, we could talk about that, but at least from a resource standpoint, we will be in alignment with the other township feeder schools.
It's actually kind of exciting because in the other districts in the other Zender schools that are my role, we meet a couple times a year, and I've always been the odd one out because we don't use big ideas. And so I'm kind of excited now that I can be like, yeah, we're on board with big ideas too. And
That's really great to hear, and I would say that should be a headline that you all are telling as part of the story. Like, that's a missed headline to me, because I think that's an important component. Thank you.
All right, well, I wish I could set up some fireworks or something, which I would love to do, but here we are, coming to you with the recommendation for big ideas. Hopefully, again, you saw the process, understood that really it was inclusive of as many people as we could make it in terms of math teachers. The usage of the materials was really exceptional, which meant teachers substituted out and taught from these different resources. Students experienced them firsthand, so just a tremendous amount of work this entire school year. And then Jenny here will talk about the actual program we're considering tonight.
so some highlights of big ideas are on the screen there behind you. I don't want to read the screen out loud to you, but there's a few things that I will point out. One is the instructional design and the balanced approach that they have. There's these great components, and Ashley's actually a really big fan of this one piece of big ideas that's called Lori's Notes, and it's one of the authors who just before every single section in the resource in the book, she shares anything and everything that you might want to know as the teacher, supporting different students. Like a lot of what she shares goes into that second category up there, but she's one of the authors and talks about the intent of why they wrote the program the way that they did, and just that connection between the conceptual understanding, the procedures, the fluency, and then applying the content is it's really a nice flow. It makes sense. It goes together really well. Then there's a really dynamic piece that in the data, there's a lot of things have gone digital now, and Big Ideas is really great, the best of both worlds. You've got your print materials and your digital. And one of the nice things in the digital world is the way that Big Ideas gives you this immediate data and feedback. Anything that you do in the program kind of summarizes for you on your teacher dashboard page. And kids have the ability to kind of give their own self-assessment before, after, during, and a lesson, a chapter. There is just so much formative feedback, formative data we can collect from this, and just performance data. And it's not going out of your way to like give an assessment. It's just the kids being in class, doing their thing. And it's really dynamic, and that's kind of a nice new piece that I'm excited to explore with everybody. Diane?
Jenny, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but something I'm curious about, because just something I've observed over time that's kind of just mind-boggling to someone my age, is just what percentage of the work you were talking about, there's a digital resource and that there's also print materials, what percentage is digital versus what percentage is print materials? And if a student feels they learn better with print materials, and I'm not sure how many students nowadays do, that's something I'm curious to know, but is there an opportunity for them to actually look at print materials rather than stare at a screen?
Great question, Diane. Yes, there is. This is also what's kind of different between maybe the Pearson or Savas product we used before, is Big Ideas has a full textbook of print, practice problems, entire lessons in the way that I think people are used to seeing. And there's also everything, I would say both are 100% available, digital and print.
So our District 34 students have the opportunity to use the print materials?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll have
Awesome.
those textbooks available for them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask, I don't know if you have any information on this. Had you seen any anecdotal data with MAP scores between fall and winter with the different types of things we're trying out? I'm just wondering if there's any data on student growth while you were trying them out.
We didn't, in general, because again, the pilot is a tremendous learning curve for all of us.
For everyone, right?
The math scores in general are lower relative to just previous years, but teasing out the post-pandemic element, we didn't necessarily compare all the different programs from a quantitative standpoint relative to growth.
I knew it would be a snapshot. I was just wondering if you noticed anything that popped out.
Nothing that we would relate to the piloting. They're stable, if anything, just a little bit lower. The growth from, it would be fall to winter of this year.
I know we don't have spring yet.
Not forget when we're coming off of COVID, so I don't know the validity of these.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I just was wondering if anything showed up. There's no pressure.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that too. I really wanted to look at our MAP data, but as we kind of started talking about it, we were like, well, it's hard to, with where we're at with the pandemic after effects.
All right, great. Thank you.
Okay, so we come to the point here where we're looking at, I guess money is math, right? And math is money, or time is money, I don't know what it is. But as of last Friday, it was $187,000, and we're always looking out for math and money and negotiating. Jenny's a great mathematician. She's also a great negotiator, and we kept going back, forward, back. So we're looking at a 3-year purchase. That's what we're requesting of your vote tonight. So we would prepay, basically it's $99,900.
$70
somewhere around there.
Some sense.
But that would set us up for a 3-year window, which we feel comfortable. And the reality is we need some time to be able to work through this. You know, you can look at 6-year programs, 3-year, but even like a 1-year, the differential price, you know, everything's packaged. And so we felt like this was a sweet spot, and it would set us up. So that's the cost factor that we would be looking at. And there's a little bit of budget braiding to make it all come together, but it would be out of the FY23 budget to execute this as quickly as we can, actually, for the sanity of our teachers, to try to get them teacher materials as fast as we can before the end of the school year. And that takes us to the end of the presentation here, so I don't know if there's any further questions or?
Does anyone have any other questions since we interrupted you and made you do stuff on the spot? No?
This is probably a question actually just for Eric. Like,
Oh,
I assume this like fits in within the budget, right? This is not like an out-of-budget expenditure necessarily. This is just,
Back to Matt.
we were spending money on math before, we're spending on money on these resources again. Is it similar? Is it about the same? Big jump up? Like what, how does it?
Oh, well, it's about the same. So to make this happen, we actually, so for the K-5 math purchasing, we were able to take advantage of some ESSER money. That honestly freed up the space in the K-8 math continuum of budgeting for me to be able to pull this to make it work, quite honestly. If it was the K-8 purchase and the 6-8, I'd be begging Eric for another solution, but it kind of came together nicely with ESSER help.
I think maybe I can add something to this too. We did get quotes from all three companies just to see where, what the price difference would be. And before any negotiating happening, like the initial quotes we got, they were comparable. If we were to have to purchase Envision, because we were up to need to purchase something, it would have been nearly the same amount.
well, it looks a lot better than the original document we got. That's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Kitty, can we have a roll call vote?
Nolan?
Aye.
Bonster?
Aye.
Stefani?
Aye.
Corman? Aye. Jack Horowitz?
Aye.
Peggy? Nelson?
Aye. Motion carries. All right, I guess we got to order that math stuff right away. Next, we'll move to 23023, resolution for non-renewal of probationary teachers. The following teachers will be released as probationary teachers, not the final year, at the end of 2022-2023 school term. Javi Macadon and Ellen Schmitz. I need a motion and a second to approve the resolutions for honorable dismissal of teachers as presented.
Second, Tom Stark.
The board would like to thank the staff members listed for their service to the students of District 34. May I have a motion and a second?
You got the
Just
motion.
need the roll
Oh,
call.
I'm sorry, may I have a roll call?
Corman? Aye. Bonster?
Aye.
Stefani?
Aye.
Nolan?
Aye.
Jack Horowitz?
Aye.
Peggy? Nelson?
Aye. Motion carries. And once again, the board would like to thank the staff members listed for their service to the students of District 34. Next, we'll move to our discussion section. We have the extended Wesley agreement. Eric?
Yeah, so District 34 has had a long-standing relationship with Wesley Child Care. It actually spans for a number of decades. And every few years, the administration brings a renewal agreement to the board for consideration to spell out the terms and conditions of an extension. Given the recent upgrades to the buildings for use and the recent acceptance of a facility use rental of approximately 10% increase, we are proposing that in year 2 of this Wesley agreement that the the cost per room goes up by approximately 10% as well. And the only other change we're bringing forward is that this is a proposed 3-year term, 3-year term with an out clause if need be. But similar to the other agreements that have been brought forth to the board from Wesley, and this would continue our great partnership for childcare availability for those who need it in the community.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a couple. So I guess one is, to what extent has this been kind of shared with Wesley so that they can build in appropriate staffing plans and or kind of out your budgetary adjustments as needed for their operation?
I'm sorry, your question was, to what extent has this been shared with them?
Well, discussed as, how did we land on the 10%, I guess, and is this a mutually understood number already?
Yes, and if you recall, that's part of the recommendation the administration made for just general facility use, the cost that the board, given all the construction, we asked the board to increase that by 10% as well.
So
For
Wesley's
everyone
already-
except Wesley going into next year. So board already approved Wesley's rates for 23, 24. So we said, let's apply that 10% increase to them in the second and third year.
That's what I was just trying to clarify, what it means 23, 24 versus why the second year I wasn't sure. So that's super. Just wanted to make sure I understood what the adjustment was and the timing for the adjustment. So thanks for clarifying.
Sure.
All right, great. Let's move along to.
Sorry, I have
You got one
just
more?
a quick question.
Sure.
I understand the 10%, but remind us again, like, how does the number of $7 per hour get set? Like, at some level, and this is a good use of subsidy, but it feels like a pretty subsidized rental for a room, right? Like, if you had to go to some market, and we get, and obviously the district gets a lot of benefit from having Wesley there, so I understand that, but just, how do we pick $7? Like, what is it? Like,
What we picked was a 10% increase.
no,
And
no,
so
I
we-
know. How do we pick 630 then?
Yeah, it's a number that has rolled year over year for decades and really hasn't been adjusted. So we just felt like these incremental changes when we were increasing rates for other things made the most sense. On that. And they do offer subsidies for families as well,
Yeah.
who are in need. So
I'm not
that
questioning that it's
combined-
too high or too low. I just want to know how we come up with the number. Like,
Yeah, you
like,
wouldn't
what's
be,
the basis?
you wouldn't be impressed with the sophistication of how the number is, but like I said, it's been a number that has carried over from one year to the next. A lot of emphasis is put on what's arguably a very good relationship with them, the service they provide. I think we had increased it 3 years ago?
Maybe 2
or-
years ago,
Yeah,
I think.
at a much smaller percentage. So we do this in small increments, I guess is the best way.
And what's the total dollars then that comes out of this contract? Like, is it meaningful? It seems pretty like,
It's not a lot.
it's kind of like a
I
total,
don't-
right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't have those numbers in front of me. I can follow up with the
Is it
board
kind of
if you'd
like we have to charge them, and this is what we're charging them?
Charge them, like- Okay.
But it's a service to the community also, correct?
No, yeah.
Yeah. Good discussion, thank you. All right, let's move to the ESSER update. The March 2023 D34 ESSER 3 funds use update. Matt?
Actually going to be me.
Oh, Raquel.
Yeah, he's taking off.
He
No,
left.
no, I got this.
Ah.
I got this now. So we wanted to bring to the attention of the board a couple of shifts that we made because we always revisit when we do not spend our funds as originally planned when under grants. So we did not need a third grade center teacher. That freed up $60,000 that we originally allocated to salaries. And we're proposing to use that with what Matt mentioned, braiding the funds to support the math curriculum. And then $15,750 was allocated originally to health coordinators. With not needing health coordinators this year, we are proposing to shift that money to the community partnership that we have with the Glenview Public Library, where we supplement their summer reading program with authors and free books for our students. So any student who resides in Glenview District 34, they do not have to be one of our students. They could be attending OLPH or St. Catherine, any other school. They can pick up a free copy of one of the books that we selected, and then they'll have an opportunity to meet with the author in the fall.
And that includes students that are living in unincorporated Glenview too,
Correct.
correct?
Absolutely.
Which are not able to use the library.
No, they can now.
Oh, they can now?
Yes.
Okay.
They can now.
That's another great thing that the public library has
Great.
invested.
Any questions about the ESSER update?
And this is part of periodic reporting that we're required to do.
All right. Next, we'll move to the transportation contract extension for Alltown.
So the administration is bringing forth a recommendation to extend the contract with Alltown for general ed transportation services. We've been with Alltown since 2014, initially for a 3-year term and a 2-year extension, and then it's annual extensions thereafter. We've had a great relationship with Alltown. This company transports about 3,500 students daily. with each route being an average of 200,000 miles per year with about 45 drivers. We've got about a 90% retention with our drivers. It's a good relationship, and so the administration feels that they're doing a good enough job to continue another one-year extension, this time with a 10% increase, which is consistent with what we're seeing as an average in the area right now.
Does anyone have any questions? All right, great.
10% sounds like a good deal in
It
this
does.
environment,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. I say, and we did not have a large year-over-year increase the last time we had an extension, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Not as big, that's right.
Yeah. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I believe we've been under other districts that have had to gone out, correct?
Yes.
I guess we'll ask about the transportation contract extension for Safeway now.
Safeway, so again, another great partnership. We've been with them since 2018, and now that that initial 5-year term has been completed, we can, negotiate for an extension. And again, great service. I think we've got a great relationship, and fortunately, they're offering us a 3% increase for next year.
Any other questions on Safeway? Okay. Then let's move to the resolution abating working cash fund to operations and maintenance / capital funds, projects funds, capital projects fund.
Right. So if you remember, the last time the board issued a working cash bond for $9 million, $9.2 million, we diverted $5 million of that over to the bond and interest fund. Now that those tax monies have come in, they've been put back into the working cash fund. This is a $5 million transfer, working cash to O&M, to capital projects, to expend the monies as we initially had intended.
So this was just a loan to ourselves because the county was late,
Exactly.
Yes.
and now we're paying the loan back.
We are.
Any other questions?
How can we get the county not to be late?
Oh,
Rumor has
That's
it.
a whole nother
Yeah.
discussion.
They have a new system for that.
Yeah.
It's still not working the way I don't think.
Yeah, I'll just say, just because I'm ordering, it seems unfair that we are subject to Cook County politics, basically, city of Chicago politics, just because we're in North Cook County. But anyway,
Yep.
that's my little soapbox. Unfortunately, we're dependent on them for our cash flow, and
We are, and I'm not sure the story's over. It's all rumor, but I'm not sure this is the end of delays.
not music to my ears.
but we'll deal with it. We move along to our audience comments. Do we have more audience comments? All right, this is our second opportunity, and we will always have 2 opportunities at our meetings. Let's move along to our report section. We have the number 1 FOIA report, the number 2 True North Board meeting report, the number 3 construction change order report, the number 4 referendum expense report, the number 5 monthly budget report, the number 6 current financial projections report, and the number 7 following meeting agenda. Is there anything anyone wants to talk about in that report? I have something I just want to bring up. The current financial projection report has a couple of new things in it. It talks about, we projected how many students we'd have for full-day kindergarten, and we didn't actually get full 450 people. So it did affect how much tuition we received, while at the same time we didn't have to hire as many teachers. So there's a little variable there that showed up in that report. Is there any other thing that you want to add to that, Eric?
No, you pretty much nailed it, and that was the first year, first pass. Hopefully, we've got a good reputation out in the community, and so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the 2 offset each other. So with the idea that the program is cost neutral, we'll always try and make sure that those 2 match.
And when we did the original projections, we did it for the max amount of students we could hold, correct?
Yeah, it was 450, which was our first grade
Right.
enrollment, so we were
Always-
ready for that.
Always aim high.
Yes.
Thanks. Any other questions on the reports? All right, can I ask for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I skipped other business really quick. Is there any other business?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on behalf of the board. Congratulations to Springfield Middle School. did a lot of work on the production value, and it was excellent overall, and it was a positive experience for everyone.
Thanks, John. I did want to get to see it, but I saw it on Twitter and Instagram a lot, too. Any other business?
I have a second question, which will not even come in close to that, but, you know, with all the banking crisis and stuff too, I'd be remiss not to ask, like, is that something we need to worry about? Do we have
I
large
want you to know,
deposits?
I asked Eric this, too.
Oh, okay. You don't have to answer it now, like, maybe you can talk about it next time, but like, just, can we assess where our money is in various banks, and is it something we should be thinking about or, you know, worried about, what our risk is? Please.
Do you have anything to add to it?
A comment next month if you'd like.
That'd be great.
Weekly, yeah, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
at the board meeting, just update.
Hopefully, it resolves itself by the end of next month. Sorry, John, I didn't mean to skip other business. It's at the end of my sheet. I apologize. Can I ask for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
Oh, good. I'm glad we got a second. All right, the meeting's adjourned.